Hi everyone, Intuitive Kathleen Miller here, and this is the Intuitive Energy Forecast for November of 2025. And I, sat with this morning, and now, as we're closing out October, as for those of you who keep up with these monthly, that was around a lot of water, emotional energies, new connections, which again, some of these are happening on the inner planes and still coming in, which they will be tangible here now. Connections very, very soon if they're not here already. But also as we begin to shift into November, the element is, again, we're going from October's, internal, more emotional field into just this pure activation. The elements are or ether and fire. Ether being the absolute main element of November. And this, of course, with the 3i Atlas coming in, bringing in benevolent harmonization for the planet, for the collective to rise. And again, with all of the discernment, and that was in October, is ongoing discernment. That's every month. That's all the time. And of course, as these come from month to month, it's building on each other. We're having these refinements within the energies, not only astrologically, but planetary and as well as the collective, that we're building and strengthening on. This is why the inner work is so crucial, because if you're not keeping up with the internal, your core being very, very strong, more reinforced than ever before, you can probably by now be aware of how quickly you can go off path or quickly you can get snagged into something. So for November specifically, the first thing that came in, and I was just being shown tremendous high channel activity for everyone. And even if you're, you don't consider yourself very intuitive, or maybe you don't have a strong, consistent practice, it's never a better time than now to be doing this, because for those who are even beginning to tap in and beginning to open to these divine, not false light garbage, not, a lot of these lower forms that are all about distraction, all about, ego-based change. This is really what I'm speaking to here, is this true divine activation. It is the soul of the earth that's also calling this in, because the soul is ascending, and the entity and the energy of the soul of the planet itself is ascending. But then we as a collective all have our own soul charts of what we're here to do to contribute to that. So this is being tremendously activated in everyone. And for many of us, this can be simply, staying balanced in your own personal life, helping those in your specific circle, families, communities to, with all these crazy changes that are happening, especially, I'm in the US. So for those of you in the US, really being able to stay reinforcing the grounding, keeping that vision of global peace, divine justice, and really the divine justice, I'm expanding to that globally as well, that all, corrupt power everywhere is now accountable, is now removed, is now really appropriately transmuted to allow the higher consciousness systems to come into place. The higher consciousness flows and supports even the entire financial system moving into that direction as well. And it is. And so part of these higher activations is our clarity on being the energy of that, because it's not an outside source or circumstance that's going to save or fix. It is us having this aligned from that clear spirit, really in the strongest command from a fully embodied source state, that we're not asking, we are commanding the justice, we are commanding the peace, we are commanding the new standard of unity consciousness that allows these structures to then prioritize and tangibly come in. So it's a very powerful alignment state that as more and more of us click into this together. And this is also where, if you are doing meditation, really tapping into the high integrity, family of light on the inner planes, and working on this, seeing all these, supports for everyone, everybody fed, everybody supported, everybody, with basic needs met. And as we're seeing this and holding this space, that also increases things that are really out of alignment with that, and self-seeking, self-serving, like those can't have hold anymore. And so this is part of all of these, all of the intensities of October have really not only brought those forward, but now we're moving into this new higher octave to then take it to another place entirely. And so this is part of this reset. This is part of this really up level that the collective has done, which brings me to point number 2, which is blessing the death of the old. And this is outmoded, ways of doing things. This is for us in the microcosm, our personal. This can be, addictions, habits, things that we are trying to kind of bring along with us that really aren't of the integrity and of the higher flow of what we're moving into. And so this can be really challenging. This is relationships that are not really congruent with where you're evolving into. This can be companies, this is certainly in the corporate world, this is certainly in the political world. And so as we're not trying to save, fix, heal, like keep it together. So for all of you that are the glue of the family, really being aware of energy leaks this month more than ever, even though this has, again, been most of this year. But right now, this is going to heighten. So if we're not really crystal clear in our connection, the scatteredness can really be, that's probably going to be one of the biggest challenges of November, is the speed of disclosure, the speed of things coming in, and being able to hold your center, to know where you're going, to know what's true for you. So blessing that, being in the, I'm being really guided, and I do work literally as in my facilitation work with people around the world. I work with a lot of hospice type situations, a lot of terminal illness and different energy. So I've worked with death a lot, literal death, which is also happening because part of the collective soul and the choice we each have, there's many who are just exhausted, they're tapped out, they don't want to keep going with this, or many have not done their work, and quite frankly, the central nervous system cannot handle the incoming flow, where the body can't really keep going. And this is where we see a huge rise in death itself in many countries, but also this rise in integrity. And that is not to invoke fear at all. It is really to, if anything, really move into a neutrality with death, and to be able to really ask, okay, how can I bless those and love everyone enough to allow the souls that want to cross over to go, to allow those who wish to stay, because some will really surprise us and move into, hey, I do want to be here. So, and that's really the blessing sometimes of these illnesses or accidents, is that it can push the soul into, wow, now that I'm pushed to the edge, I actually really want to be here. And then that commitment opens up a healthier energy to be here, because the planet itself is part of that rising, part of the ascension itself is this standard of vibration that is really required to be able to, to thrive on it. And so again, no judgment, no fear with this, being able to just be in the energy of, okay, even though a lot more transition is still coming, how can I trust that anything that does leave, personally, professionally, materially, that it's only to make room for a higher order of replacement, okay, or a higher system, or a higher, more appropriate, that is going to also lead to thriving for all, thriving for harmony. And this is where that unity consciousness, when we're really considering all, it allows so much more to be created as well in that. So that one's a bit intense. And as we're seeing through natural disasters, as we're seeing through, these global crises that are happening, it is, quite challenging, but also, of course, to be in, responder mode where we can to contribute what we can, but, in a way that's still healthy, really asking within what part of contribution is appropriate, is healthy, and how can I also be an allowance of everyone's choice to, step up, to continue, to let go, to leave entirely. And that's in all those areas. So staying really, as fluent as we can while not shutting down or going into trauma response and shut down, which is so common to do when those things come up. So that's 2. And then 3 is, it was just this laser beam focus. And what I was shown was all of these different kind of light bands in every direction, really vying for attention, and being able to just really really zoom in on your line that you are meant to be on, to stay on when the world gets potentially louder and things get more chaotic. So chaos is not bad. Chaos, in quantum science is a very volatile state to allow the greatest change. And yet it's, as we all know, very uncomfortable, very challenging year in so many different ways. And yet, as we're keeping up with it, as we're also prioritizing the silence, because that part of that laser beam focus is this really curated silence that if you're not developing, and I mean, I do this with every client of just 10 to 15 minutes every day. We have the time. Everybody's like, oh, I'm so busy, my kids are at me, the pet's life, and yet you between scrolling and TV and life and all these other distraction choices, to find and prioritize that 15-minute plus to really have the silence can make all the difference in the world. And so really, or even increasing practice, so that you're, one, keeping your own heart open, which is so crucial, but 2, that you're really staying aligned with what's relevant for you in all of this, because the noise, the fake news, the distractions, and the, part of the blessing of this higher channel activation is that one of the biggest gifts that it is bringing is this fine-tuning of discernment for everyone, so that when we see holograms in the sky and we see fake news, and we see now we're seeing all this nonsense with AI that is being very manipulated to control, to harm. And so having very clear, fine-tuned discernment that you can know within a second, 1 second, 3 seconds, that's not true, that's not real, that's not relevant to me. That's another huge one. What's relevant to you? So much news, so much garbage, not really relevant. So keeping that to a minimum while still, of course, being connected and contributing and aligned in the world. So definitely, a much faster pace this month. And as we're seeing, I'm keeping my eye on the travel thing now with all of the interesting travel delays and these things from the shutdown that are happening. So this is also part of that pulse point of, okay, if there are detours for us in our travel and our lives, how do we harmonize with that so it's not this really upheaval crisis? Because if ether's very, very fast and our nervous system is not in a range, it's kind of like the battery range. If you don't have enough battery range and you kind of get too low, it really can hit the body harder, as well as everything you're trying to keep flowing well for your life. So keeping your battery charged while really eyes wide open with where you're going. And when you're willing to do that, and you're willing to see, okay, I'm willing to see and be aware of what's happening, where I need to flex, adjust, flow energy to, this is going to keep us, one, it's going to keep us energized so we have the energy we need through it, but it's also going to really help with ether specifically, obviously it's very fast. It's kind of like faster than the speed of light. And so it's so quick, but it also, you think ether is part of that fire. And so this again is staying hydrated, keeping the breath going with it, not burning out, not overloading the central nervous system, not overloading the mind. And so that's really, to me, that really speaks to more silence, more low gear time too, more just kick back, let yourself nap, let yourself rest. No guilt, no wrongness for it. We are preparing as we're going into the winter solstice. This is only going to increase, and it's not a bad thing. It is something we all agreed to before we got here. It's something that for the star seeds and those light workers, those that are awake on the planet, this is really, these green lights coming. And I'm getting this too of, okay, now it's time to step up more. Now, you're moving into new roles. And so there's a lot of star seeds specifically that are really moving into new areas. Moving's going to be another big one. I'm definitely playing with that myself, and really asking, okay, where's the route or the move, or where does my body need to be? What's the greatest thriving, and what's the greatest contribution to the planet? And so these are good questions to be asking if that's something that's up in your universe. And otherwise, it's an exciting month, but it's again, I'm not gonna lie, it's an intense time on Earth. And so keeping it light, asking for more laughter, asking for more, grace with all of it, and being able to just take it one step at a time, one day at a time. What do I energetically prioritize today so that I can be thriving, I can be contributing, and really envisioning, and that's that laser beam focus of what I aspire this higher new earth that's here now to really become, because we are the architects, we are the creators as we're visioning this. So I hope this has been helpful. If you do feel like, hey, things are too intense, I'm needing more support than this, I'm always available. I've done a recent expo, so I do have a discount. For the moment, it's not going to be there. It's probably a few weeks. So that is available on the site at intuitivelifestylesuccess.com. Otherwise, I will be segueing this into my next podcast. If you do have questions or suggestions for other content, please reach out and let me know. I always take those into consideration as I'm working on the next. Otherwise, thanks so much for being here. I wish you all the best. And happy holidays as we go into it. Let's make it the best ever and be well.